Hello and welcome to the Connection Loop podcast. I'm Shannon Leonard, substituting for Ruben Dua, who usually hosts the show. But more importantly, I'm here with Alex Sheridan, and I'm here to talk about LinkedIn strategies, how to stand out on LinkedIn, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But first of all, Alex, please introduce yourself, if you would, and just your name, who you are, and what you do.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. Glad to be here. My name is Alex Sheridan. I'm the founder of Impacts. We're a social media marketing company. I transform founders, business execs, CEOs into revenue generating content creators on LinkedIn.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what is the way to stand out? How do you stand out on LinkedIn? That's going to be the title of this podcast. I want to go in depth. We can break that down. But if you had to answer it in one sentence or let's just say 2 minutes, what's your 2-minute answer for how to stand out on LinkedIn?
My one sentence answer is you got to unleash your creative. You have to unleash your own creative. So that's what I teach people how to do is I can't tell you to be me or be someone else or be this certain way on LinkedIn. But what you have to do is stand out. And the best way that you can stand out, and I think people miss this a lot of times, is by being the best you, because there's nobody else that's like you. There's not one single human being that is like you. And so if you're your best you out there, then you're going to stand out amongst everyone else. Now, that seems very general and it makes sense, right? It's easy to say that. But how do you do that is there's many different ways. Like for me, my content is very oriented around storytelling and skits, and there's acting, there's humor, there's personalities, but that's my thing. Some people, I just got off another LinkedIn Live before this with Brian, and Brian is an amazing interviewer, and the way he asks questions and the way he responds and the way he gets people to open up is just next level. And so that's his inner creativeness. And so he's unleashing that on, into his content. And there's some people that just, they do certain types of videos. Maybe it's one-on-one or it's on stage capturing them talking in front of a group or a virtual event. And so there's many different ways that you can actually do it. The key is not to try to put something in somebody that's not already there. The key is to how do you find the thing that's already inside that person that is creative and is unique, and you bring that out.
That's awesome. And what's the origin story with that? I mean, you mentioned video. That's kind of an emerging way to communicate on LinkedIn, but a lot of people still use text and photos, other kinds of, those mediums. What's your origin story with figuring out how to stand out on LinkedIn? How did you learn these strategies?
It really, this whole, the whole tagline, Unleash the Creative, goes way back for me. Being a kid, being 14 and sitting in math class, writing raps and stuff and thinking of stories inside my head, and my imagination was running wild. And at the time, this is way before LinkedIn and content days and all that stuff. But I didn't know how to use that creativeness. I didn't know how to channel it, right? It was pretty much either hey, you're going to go to college and get your degree, or you're going to go work in the mill, or you're going to go work at a factory, and those were the two options. And so it was blue collar, or it was go to 4-year school, get a degree, and then climb some type of corporate ladder. Well, what I didn't realize is that there's more options than that. And and they don't teach you to do this in high school. They don't teach you to do this in college, but to find what is unique about you and leverage your strengths, what you're naturally good at, and what makes you happy. What do you enjoy doing? No one had those conversations with me. And I still don't think those conversations are having today in school systems and stuff. And I think it's one of the reasons it's broken, because we don't teach life skills. We don't teach people how to be good at life. We just teach them these subjects, and we kick them out and say, go figure it out. And I think there's so much to it. But in terms of how the origin story started on LinkedIn with my content, with video content, I got on LinkedIn late last year. I was on it before with my previous job that I was at. I did this as a side hustle for, 6 months basically at this job, and then it was making enough money where I could leave my full-time job and now do this full-time. But I started producing video content and putting out video content last year on LinkedIn. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna be myself. I'm gonna try to incorporate some humor. I'm going to try to incorporate some skits. I'm still going to have a valuable message. I'm still going to teach people things, but I'm going to do it in such a unique way that people feel like they're being entertained as they're being educated. So some people call that, edutainment or whatever it's called. There's a lot of different words for it. But I wanted to be the one person. And this was back before, people weren't using green screens back then. Nobody was really doing kind of the story skit style that I was doing. And so it's a little bit of a risk, because I didn't know if it was going to work. It's kind of uncharted territories. And so it was a little bit of a risky move for me to come out and do that as a new content creator. But I figured, why not? And I knew video was the present, and I knew it was the future. And I knew if I could educate people while keeping them very engaged and interested, because I was also entertaining them, And I understood marketing enough to know that that's going to work. Like there's something to this that's going to work if I can execute it and do it the right way. And in the beginning, the videos sucked, right? Like most people, when you start off, it's just that they weren't very good to where they're at now. But I knew there was something with that recipe, and it just never let up. I stuck with it. I had videos that did bad. I had videos that did great, and everywhere in between. But I never gave up on that idea of, one, unleash the creative, which was the meaning behind it, and two, entertaining people as you educate them as a form of content, which is similar to, if you see a lot of the advertisements now, they're not, back in the old days, 60, 70 years ago, they'd jump out and be like, you should buy Camel because Camel's the cigarette to buy. Where it's like, now that stuff doesn't work. You have to find ways to jump out at people and engage them and grab their attention and entertain them and give them a different look they haven't seen before. Keep them involved in what you're trying to show them. So I just brought that same element to the content on LinkedIn, and it's been a hell of a ride, man.
That's awesome. So is that the difference? Is that engagement the difference of video versus text and photo? And would you recommend either or would you recommend photo content or video content on LinkedIn? What's your thoughts on the formats?
And you get wide different opinions on this. I think it's good to do both. It's good to do all the above. It's good to show that you're dynamic. Even in my video post, I still have the text portion that's above it. So I still write out, I'm still copywriting every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I use text post in my LinkedIn private group. So I'm still writing text posts there too, because I need to stay sharp with that too. And text is always going to be around. We're not going to stop reading, right? At least not in the next, 100 years. But the thing with text on video or text with LinkedIn versus video, text will get you more overall views, but less engagement percentage. So typically on text engagement, it's like 2%, 3 or 4, 5%, maybe 6% on text. And video can be 7, 8 to 10 to 15, 20% engagement percent. So because if you do a solid video, people want to engage. It's different experience than you get with seeing a human being, hearing them, watching their nonverbals. It's a completely different experience than you get versus just seeing somebody's text. So more people will see the text because it's easier to consume, and LinkedIn pushes out text more than they do videos. So when you're going through your feed, it's very easy just to read a text and be like, okay, I can check that out and move on. Video, you're going to invest time in, right? It's like a 2-3 minute video, which I wouldn't recommend really going longer than that on LinkedIn. You got to invest some time in it. It's like, okay, I'm going to consume this video. So I'm going to sit down and watch this video for the next 2-3 minutes. So for that reason, you get less overall reach, but you get so much more engagement, and it builds your brand. People actually know who you are, what you're about. It builds credibility. It builds trust. Your audience really feels like they get to know you. And so for that reason, I think video is so powerful. And if you think about COVID and everything that happened, our whole world went virtual. So all the live events, they all went virtual. All the face-to-face meetings, they all went Zoom. And so learning the art of video and how to make it work for you and your company has never been more important than it is now.
I love how you focus on creativity, because that definitely is an X factor. It's easy to just kind of replicate something, but I think the heart of creativity is originality, and that's how you stand out. Like one way, at least, is being original, doing something different. But that's really interesting on your insights on that kind of video versus photo. So it sounds to me like, from your perspective, video has a role, but it's kind of, you do a mix of both. But video is for you the most engagement, which is super interesting. And that leads me to the next kind of question, where more focused on direct messages on LinkedIn. So, we're talking about public, getting out there, standing out on the public feeds, and that's a whole effort. But a lot of times you want to build connections and direct messages, and that's flooded as well with people sending all types of messages in. So what are your tips for standing out there? And is there like your top 3 kind of tips for standing out in direct messages? And that's all. And and I have to also mention, we always recommend video. So that's kind of like one way we recommend to stand out is just sending a video in your LinkedIn message. Our platform, Dubb.com, it allows you to do that. We have a Chrome extension.
Yep.
You could just send a YouTube link. There's a lot of different ways you could send a video. But one reason we focus on it, our users use our tool to do that because it's kind of easy, and it has like a instant landing page where you can have call to actions on it, so it makes it actionable. But but the reason they're using videos, whether it's our product or someone else's, or like, YouTube, or even just actually, I think LinkedIn, you can literally just upload a video directly to
Yep.
LinkedIn
Yep.
and just send it there. It's, you don't have that actionable aspect to it, but you at least have that. So I mean, so there's that, there's a video, but within that, like, okay, so let's say you're sending a video, you're sending a text. What are your tips to catch their attention in the content itself? So maybe not focusing on the medium so much, like in the actual content of your direct messages, what would you recommend focusing on to stand out?
Yep. And you're exactly right. I mean, I won't go down that path because, I think we both agree that video is the way to greet people, right? Because again, it's going back to the human element. People see you, it's a different experience. And 99% of people are not doing it anyway, so you're standing out. So video is the way to go when you're reaching out to somebody specifically with a DM, 100%. Whether you're using something like you guys use or whether it's just a straight up, video from LinkedIn, you can do it organically, however you do it. But to answer your question in terms of the message, the message is super important. And people, I think, fall into two camps. One, they go very just overly casual, friendly, and they're trying to reach people to hopefully become customers over time, right? And they hop in there and they're like, hey, just want to say hi. We just got connected. Hope you're doing well. Let me know if I can help you with anything. It's not going to get you anywhere in terms of getting responses, right? Because you're just being like, hey, what's up? How's it going? You need a little bit more than that, right? But you don't want to be on the opposite side. Sometimes what I see is overly pitchy, where someone's like, hey, it's John. I want to set up a 20-minute call with you. I think our company could help your company. That's too much. And you end up scaring people away. So what I found and what I teach is this happy medium where it's like you reach out to somebody and you do personalize it. So I'll go to your page and say, hey, Shannon, hey, we just got connected a few hours ago, or maybe you liked one of my posts. Hey, thanks so much for liking my video the other day. Really appreciate it. The support means a lot. I was just looking at your page and I noticed that you just recently put out a couple of videos. And me being what I do for a living, I kind of nerd out on this stuff. So I was checking out your videos. And hey, since you showed your support to me, I'd love to show my support back to you and give you a few tips and tricks and advice on your videos that would help you get more engagement, more reach, and ultimately more customers. Hey, let me know if you want to chat. If not, no worries at all. I just mostly wanted to say hi just because I appreciate it again. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video and comment or like on it. And that's it, man. So it's a very low commitment, but higher value type of proposition. It's very casual. It's very personable. It's not overly businessy, or anything crazy, but I'm not leaving them with saying there's not no hook, but there's not such a strong hook. They feel like I've been pitched. It's kind of like that in between. That's the sweet spot.
Nice. That's really cool. I feel like that's an actionable tip people can take away from that. And okay. And I want to pivot a little bit into side hustles.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I want to hear, what are your qualifications with side hustles? What are your experiences with the successes, the failures? Give me the dirty, the stories, or maybe the clean, but the gruesome. Let's say gruesome. That's exciting. We always like drama on all of our content. If you see our YouTube channel, we're very dramatic here. But with that, like, is that something that you can use LinkedIn for specifically? Because that's kind of the overall topic. Are the content you're posting here to get attention and standing out on LinkedIn, is that for your side hustle, or is it for your main company? And what's your experience with side hustles? Do you recommend them? And overall tips with that. I'd love to get any experiences and advice.
Yeah, good questions. There's a couple parts there, so I'll try and break it down. One, I don't have a side. I have my side hustle turned into my full time. So that just is my thing now. But I did go through that process. That just 2 months ago, I left my full-time job to pursue, I like to say my dream, but it is my dream, but it's my, this was my side hustle. So I made that shift 2 months ago, and I got my first customer from this business, February of this year. 6 months later, I'd replaced my 6-figure income all through LinkedIn videos, content marketing. So when people talk about LinkedIn, like for me, I'm passionate about it because I built my business off this and I lived it. I didn't just make some videos and now I talk about it. I fucking lived it, and I know it works because I've seen it. So, and that's what I teach my customers. So in terms of the side hustle, do I recommend it? I don't necessarily recommend it, but I mean, I would say that if it's something that you want to pursue, like if you've got a full-time job right now, I think it all goes back to happiness. If you've got a full-time job right now and you're really happy and things are going great, then I wouldn't recommend that someone get a side hustle necessarily. But if it's something that you have this itch or you have this desire or you have this burning, inside you, it's telling you, hey, I need to do something else, or there's something else that I'm really passionate about that I'm not doing in my full-time job, 100%. Like, you got to try it. You got to go for it. Right. And the key is, you have, like, here's what happens. It starts off as and it depends what your goals are. If your goals are, hey, I want to keep this a side hustle for the rest of my life and I want to stay at my full-time job, then fantastic. You create the balance and whatever good looks like for you, and you do it. For a lot of people, the ultimate dream and the ultimate goal, and this is a little bit harder to do, but it is to take that side hustle and turn it into the full-time, right? That's what a lot of people set out to. Now, I think a lot of people give up along the way because they realize how hard it is and how much work it takes and how much failure you have to go through to get there. But if that's really your thing and that's what you want, then yes, absolutely go for it. But you have to be prepared that it's going to be really, really hard. It's going to take a lot of work. It's not going to be easy. You're going to doubt what you're doing a lot of times. Maybe not doubt yourself, but doubt the process and what you're doing. It's completely normal. And it's all about consistency and not giving up when you want to give up, when it seems hard, when you seem lost, because everyone goes through it. If you've taken a side hustle and turned it into a full-time job, everyone, I think, to some extent has gone through a similar process where, you're trying to figure it out, right? It's a side hustle. It's not your full-time job yet. So what happens over time is you start off spending very little time with the side hustle. This is what happened to me. I started off like, it's just a company, right? It's just a brand. It's like, this is what I stand for. This is the company. This is what I would offer. Don't have many customers. It doesn't take a lot of my time. So I can spend more time on the full-time job. Well, eventually over time, that side hustle, you start to win some customers, you start to create more content, your content gets more attention. You're all of a sudden more in the spotlight a little bit. And then pretty soon that full-time job starts to suffer a little bit. It's natural, right? You only have so much time in your day and in your weeks. So you do get to a point eventually. Now, how fast you want to get there is completely up to you and how much work you want to put in. But you get to that point where you're kind of at that fork in the road. And for me, it was always a clear and obvious choice that I was going to do my side hustle. And this was my dream. And there was no plan B. It was like, I burned the ships. We landed on the land. I burned the ships. We're done. We're taking over. Like, it is what it is. But you get to that place where your full-time job starts to become secondary. And then you get to a really interesting place where you're like, okay, I've got this window of time now. Because how long can you go sacrificing your full-time job where it really hurts your performance? But you got the side hustle that you want to do and turn into your full-time job. So I say do it as strategically as you can, because people got finances, and if people have kids and stuff like that, you can't oftentimes just always abandon ship right away. If you can, do it. But a lot of times you can't. That's why it's a side hustle. So do it strategically as you can until you get to a place where you can make that jump, but you feel like it's calculated and you've got some customer base, you've got a brand built up.
Wow, that's an awesome answer. I love that. And so to finish this podcast, we're going to do a rapid fire section. And I want to loop in some of the concepts that you just dropped, because just to say, like, that's a really solid foundation on what to do, as if you're thinking about, or like where to start thinking about if you're trying to do a side hustle. So this rapid fire will just be like, that's like the next step from that. So question number one, do you just start with one platform? Do you start with LinkedIn if you're with your side hustle, or just with your brand in general, your business, or do you start with all the social media platforms?
So I started with pretty much two, Instagram and LinkedIn. You have to start where you can spend the time. So go deep on one or two versus trying to do 7 or 8. It's easy to see influencers and other people do all of them. They've got teams. That's their full-time deal. They've got money. If you don't have that, go deep on LinkedIn for a while, see what you think, and you can always add to it.
Do you use hashtags? How many hashtags? 1,000 hashtags, or just like 3 hashtags?
Dude, I don't even think they're that relevant, to be honest, anymore, man. I mean, I still use them. You're supposed to use 3 to 5 on LinkedIn. You can put more in the comments, but I don't know that they really do that much, to be honest.
You're supposed to, right? And so what do you think about the social media rules of you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that? They're always changing, right? Do you live by your own social media rules, or do you track the trends and follow them on a month-to-month basis?
I mean, I pay attention to both, but it's like I live it every day. So I really, if it's not coming from somebody that I feel like is they live what they're talking about. Like if I go read an article on somebody, I'll go check out their LinkedIn page right afterwards. And I'm like, cool, John, nice article. But when you post an external link, which is a no-no on LinkedIn, and you get 1 like. So,
Right.
and you're talking about how hashtags are so important. Like,
Right.
I take it for a grain of salt, but you got to pay attention to both.
That's cool. That's a great answer. Where do you start with video? Do you start with just one-on-one messages, or you just start with public
Yeah.
videos? What's your take on that?
Everything. Just go. Just the biggest mistake that I see people that gets people hung up is they focus on perfection over progress, and it's progress over perfection. So if you're going to start on videos, just literally pick up your phone and make a video, and then if you decide, you know what, I want to up my game, I want to add some banners and some titles, maybe I want to do some creative stuff, then do it. But don't force yourself in this pigeonhole position where you feel like you got to do X, Y, and Z before you can start pumping out videos. Pick up the phone right now if you're listening to this and shoot a damn video, and post it. And then, the key is 3 months from now, 6 months from now, look back and hopefully you've gotten better. That's progress, but perfection doesn't happen. So you need to make a lot of videos. I mean, I've made hundreds and now thousands of videos, including DMs and everything else. So it's like, I'm really comfortable on camera. It's nothing for me to get on camera, but it's because I've made so many videos. Like if you're not there, you got to put in the repetition. Like, so many people are afraid to get up to the bat because they're worried they're going to strike out. And it's like, dude, you're never going to hit a home run if you're worried about striking out. The reason people hit home runs because they've struck out thousands of times. They've been up to the bat many, many times. So get up to bat.
That's awesome. Well, that's a great place to wrap this. Thank you, Alex. I'd love, where can we find you? Where can we follow you for more of your thoughts?
LinkedIn, man. LinkedIn's the best place. Alex B. Sheridan. I'm sure there'll be links and information here. And then YouTube, I got some client testimonials on there, but I also started a vlog that I think I'm 6-7 episodes in now, where I'm showing behind the scenes of this transition from the full-time to the side hustle, building out the stream. And so it's a fun journey.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome. And I have to say, your tip's totally relevant our company, Dubb.com, is all about sending as many videos as possible easily.
Yeah.
So I think our audience definitely would get value from your tips and tricks. So thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time.
See you, Shannon. Thank you.
Farewell. Bye-bye.
Take care.